On this episode, we're back to the 21st century. Welcome back to Your Par. Like I said, in this episode, we're back in the 21st century, and we've got John here, and he's going to show us all about his car. John, what you bring out?
I've got a 2017 Dodge Challenger TA.
And what drivetrain do you have in it?
I've got the 5.7 liter.
And TA, this isn't the first time Dodge has used that nomenclature on a car. What's kind of the story behind that?
Yeah, so this car is based off a car from 1970, the Challenger TA, and it was built for the Trans Am Race Series that SCCA, Sports Car Club of America, sponsored. And there's some pretty heavy hitters in that series that a lot of people will be familiar with. The Pontiac Trans Am for starters, the Camaro Z28, the Mustang Boss 302, some that aren't so well known, like the Challenger TA, the AAR CUDA, or the TA Javelin. AMC had a car in that bunch. And to be eligible to race in that series, you really needed to do two things. You needed to have a car with a V8 that had less than 305 cubic inches, and you needed to produce, I think it was 500 models that could be sold to the public. So the way Dodge got around it, they didn't actually have an engine that small. They de-stroked the 340 for the races and sold the 340 at the showroom. So the car that you could get in the showroom was a 340 six-pack. You know, they don't have that today, clearly. We've got a 5.7 Hemi. But really a cool car. A lot of styling cues that are the same between this car and its sister car, the AAR CUDA. So, you know, we can talk about those as we look around the car.
Yep, for sure. And so, like always, we're going to walk around and show you the things that make it what it is. As far as like a 2017 Challenger, the 14 and ups, or excuse me, the 15s and ups, they actually changed the indicators on them, the marker indicators. It's hard to tell unless you have them side by side, but they are in fact different. These are a little bit longer and thinner. Now, the TAs, they have their own wheel package, right?
They do. They got their own wheel package. They've got a side stripe with a TA. And this color combination, it's hard to tell because it's a flat black on a granite colored gray.
And I kind of like that. I kind of like how it's hidden in there. It just makes the car look super sleek from the side. But when you get up, you're like, oh, nope, that's the real deal.
Yeah, it is. I like this color combination the best. You don't see very many of them on the road. I saw a red one the other day. It was kind of cool looking, but the stripe and the hood, they popped way out, where this is a little bit more undercover, so to speak.
And now going back to that 70 TA, now they had something on the fender and you kind of did something on your own to make this kind of more match it, right?
Yeah, so the old 70 TA, it had a big decal here that said 346 pack. This car didn't come with a decal, so I went out and found a little emblem that says 345 Hemi. You know, it's clearly not the same, but I think it finishes it off.
It's a really good nod to the original car. So we're going to go ahead and walk around, show you some of those other features, and hopefully take it for a quick ride. So out back on the Challenger, one of the ways to tell right away that it's 15 and newer is actually the tail lights. They're the LEDs, and they're actually super bright. That's one thing, I don't know if you've noticed it, but I've noticed about the Dodges is at night, if you see a red tail light and it seems a little brighter than the others, it's most likely a Dodge.
Yeah, it runs across the whole family. It's not just the Challenger.
Yeah, for sure. Another way you can kind of tell is that it has this piano black center and it says Dodge in the middle. Again, that's kind of a throwback to the 1971 style car where it would have said Challenger in the center in between the tail lights. Now, you used to be able to tell what trim level Challenger you were coming up on just by the spoiler. You know, if it didn't have one, V6. If it was color matched to the body, it was an RT, and if it was the flat black, it was going to be the SRT. Well, when this car was made in 2017, there were actually 13 different trim levels you could get, and that whole knowing it by the spoiler kind of went out the window.
Yeah.
So Dodge was nice enough to actually put Challenger TA and a decal here on the corner, so you can at least kind of tell what it is if you get close enough to it. So John and I are going to walk around the rest of the car, show you some of those other features. So John and I have moved up front on the Challenger. Some of the ways you can tell it's a 15 or newer is the two grills inside the single grill. Again, kind of paying homage to an actual 71, not such a 70, but a 71 Challenger. Another way you can tell it's a 15 or newer is the lower grill is actually a little bit bigger than the earlier cars. One of the ways you can tell it's a TA is the script Challenger, the hood pins, and the hood. Now, you were saying the 71 Challenger TA, it didn't really have this kind of hood on it, did it? This is a little different.
Yeah, the 70 Challenger TA had a hood scoop that would look more like a box that came up off, but the AAR CUDA looked almost exactly like this. So this looks a lot like the sister car, and I kind of like this look a lot better.
Yeah.
And it is a functional cold air intake. If you look underneath, it all pipes back around to here and it sucks back in. The kind of interesting thing, you mentioned that this is a 70, or looks like a 71 grill. The TA was really only made in 1970, but there is an ad out there that you can find if you do a little Googling for a 1971 that they plan to release. So you can see what it was going to look like.
Really?
With the double grill.
Okay.
So they either mocked one up or what have you, but it never made it to market. So there is a rendering of what it's supposed to look like if it was a 71.
All right. And so another couple things that show that's a TA, the flat black hood, right? And that goes all the way across the car and out the back.
Yeah, it goes all the way, hood, roof, deck lid, and spoiler.
Okay. And then another way to tell if you get up close enough to one is the inboard headlight actually has TA on the inside of it in like a little LED looking light. And it's pretty cool, and actually has dual open lights in the center, right?
Yep, they're both open. This one for sure feeds the cold air intake. That one I've read does, but I can't seem to find the pathway how it does it, but this one you can see really clearly.
Okay. Well, we're actually going to pop the hood, check out that cold air intake and the 5.7 that lurks underneath. Okay, so the hood's popped on the Challenger. Here's the 5.7 liter. This engine has pretty much withstood the test of time. It started out in the Ram trucks. You remember the commercials, hey man, that thing got a Hemi? This was the Hemi they were talking about. You can identify it as the 5.7 and not one of the bigger Hemis because it has the complete engine cover. It covers both valve covers, coil packs, and intake. This car does come equipped with the factory cold air intake, as you see right here, and right above it on the hood is where the functioning ram air is, so it's feeding directly on top of this filter, and like John said, it actually feeds in from the headlight in the front of the car. Now these do come with the active exhaust system, the TA does at least, and that makes this 5.7 just sound awesome. So John was nice enough to give me a quick ride in his Challenger, and I want to talk about it a little bit here. It is the 5.7 liter, which kind of gets bad-mouthed on the internet for being like the low grade, V8, but it still has 375 horsepower and a beautiful exhaust note. And like I said, it's time tested. It's been around for quite some time, so it's super reliable. And this particular car has all kinds of great options on it still. Like, you can put it in the Super Track or Sport or any one of those setups to get the suspension and transmission to kind of work together in a beautiful symphony. And that's exactly what this car does. John was nice enough to let me actually give the thing a quick drive, and I mean to tell you, I was smiling ear to ear in sport mode. The 8-speed Torque Flight just does what it does best, and that's just give you power on demand. And you go into a turn and it would hold the RPM right through the apex, come out of the turn, you'd be right on the throttle and it would just pull. And it was just one of the most fun experiences I've had in an automatic car. Most of you viewers know that I love my standard shift, but this is starting to kind of sway me towards that 8-speed automatic. This thing is awesome. And I venture to say that a Challenger with the 5.7 is probably the most smiles per dollar you could possibly get out of any one of the pony cars from any brand out there. Yeah, you get a little bit more performance out of the bigger V8s, and you get a lot more performance out of the Hellcat and the Demon, but you're also paying so much more. Like this car, price point, fun to drive, there's nothing that can touch this. And John, I gotta say, the car is incredible. Thank you for letting me give it a quick spin so I could experience that myself. It's just an awesome car.
It is. I'm a big fan, and I agree. The value per smile, if you want to put it in those terms, it's there. It's not the fastest car out there. It doesn't have the most power, but I look forward to driving it every day. It is a daily driver for me, so an automatic is a little bit more of, I wouldn't say a requirement, but a high on my list of nice to haves.
For sure.
So having the Torque Flight 8 that is just so much fun. And to your point, you know, when you put it in sport mode, keeps it in that power band so well.
Yeah.
Couple that with the intoxicating exhaust note.
Right, and this thing does sound incredible.
And this is just a fun car to drive.
Yeah, and like its price point, it's right there. A couple of things on the TA. It does actually have TA embroidered in the seat, so when you jump in, you know what you're getting into. And like you said, it has the active exhaust system, which does sound great, even in the cab. No drone, but just a great noise when you go full throttle. John, because it does have the TorqueFlite 8 speed, we can shift it into all kinds of overdrive. So we're going to do that and learn a little bit about you. What is it about the Mopar brand that kind of drew you in? Why are you a Mopar guy?
So I don't think wasn't necessarily on purpose. I was into a lot of other motorsport before I was really into cars. I had snowmobiles and I had motorcycles, but I'd say back in 2011, 2012, I got tired of driving cars that didn't put a smile on my face, and told my wife that I thought it might be time to trade the truck in and get something that was a little more fun. And, you know, best wife in the world said, go for it, just make sure it's black. So traded in my 230 horsepower Ford F-150, which at the time was the most powerful thing I'd ever had, and upgraded to the V6 Challenger, which again, you know, like the 5.7, gets badmouthed a lot.
Yep.
But really fun car, and talk about economical. The thing was, you know, thousands and thousands cheaper than this, and a sip gas compared to this. You know, didn't have the rumble, but it was a lot of fun to drive. And, you know, got hooked. I'm a Mopar guy now. We've had that car since then. We bought my wife a Durango with that same Pentastar V6. It's, again, V6, but I think it's a great engine. The thing puts out a lot of power, very dependable. And then, you know, just this early spring, late winter, decided it was time to upgrade to something a little bit more grumbly.
Fair enough.
So moved on to what we're driving today.
Yeah, and that Pentastar V6 is a great engine, and Chrysler like kind of hit that one out of the park too, that's for sure. So what is it about this Challenger that you love?
So you hit on some of it already in your description. It's just that car that puts a smile on your face. It feels fun to drive. It's got tons of, not tons, but good power for what you pay for. Just a fun car to drive. It's not as precise as, you know, the Audis of the world, as the BMWs of the world, or even today the Camaros and the Mustangs. But I love it. It's like driving a hammer. It's not a sledgehammer like your big giant Hellcat, but I'll take my 23-ounce framing hammer any day.
Right on, yeah, you know, it gets the job done, and it's always reliable, right?
Yeah.
Right on. If you could have one other Mopar out there, what would it be?
Well, since you warned me before we got in the car that I was going to have to stick to one, that I couldn't just phone it in and have two or three, I'm going to go ahead and say probably the 69 Charger. Little kid, watched the Dukes of Hazzard. That was the car, man. So, you know, those are still, you see them on the road today. They're still very, very cool, very recognizable.
Yeah.
A lot bigger car. A lot of sheet metal to keep clean.
Yeah, the big B bodies.
But still, you know, that's a great car.
And so when you're cruising, you windows up or windows down?
This time of year, it's almost always windows down. It's just the car's made for it. You can hear that exhaust kind of rumbling in through the window. Get a little bit of the breeze in your hair. Smell the fresh cut grass.
Yep.
It's a really nice feeling.
For sure. And I want to make one more point on the 5.7 and the people that kind of bashed out there. So John bought this car. It was much cheaper than a Hellcat. And his insurance is much cheaper than a Hellcat. And if he wants to, he can go throw a supercharger on this, add 150 horsepower or so, depending on what kind of supercharger, maybe a quick shot of nitrous, and get all kinds of power out of this motor, and his insurance stays the same, which is pretty awesome. That, again, adds to that value or dollar per smile, right?
Yeah.
So, if you want to see pictures of this car or any car ever featured, you have any questions, comments, make sure you do that below. Go follow me on Facebook and Instagram under YourPar. And as always, until next time.